Viewers, thank you so very much for staying tuned. Those of you who are now joining us, you missed the first half, the first conversation of the program, but I'll give you a recap a little later on before we wrap up the program today. Our second conversation has to do with the public service. And when you hear public service, one of the things you think about is the Guyana Public Service Union. It is my pleasure to have, for the first time on this program, two former executives of the Guyana Public Service Union, and they are public servants. Welcome to, they're no stranger to, at least not now, they're not strange to Guyana at all. Karen Vansluytman-Corbin, welcome to Facing the Nation.
Thank you, Malika, and good afternoon, viewers.
All right, great to have you. And of course, Mr. Jermaine Hermanstyne, welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
All right, great. So before we even get into the conversation, I did ask them this off camera, but I'm going to ask you on camera, how did today's protest action went? Do you feel that you are gaining ground, gaining momentum? Either of you, or both of you.
Yeah, certainly. We started about a week last Friday, and the numbers has been growing. In addition to the numbers that is growing, we've been getting lots of calls from civil society. We've been getting calls from members out of town who's asking us to come to their location to meet with them because they're very much in support of the action that we're taking. And one of the most important thing and the most fundamental point is that many persons are of the view and share the same view that it is time that Patrick Yarde goes.
All right. For those of you who are not necessarily, which is I would find very strange because it's been all over the news, just to give you the backstory, the fact is Mr. Patrick Yarde, the president of the Guyana Public Service Union, he has been the president of that union for about 3 decades. Now, I was reading an article, and well, some of you already know my age, so it's not a secret. From reading the article, he would have been there. He got there when I was maybe about 4 years old, and he's still sitting there today. That is basically the backstory. But what lately prompted this reaction by public servants and other members of the Public Service Union, except for maybe the executive? Karen?
Malika, over the years, we have noticed that the union has remained stagnant. There has been no growth within our union. The membership has declined drastically. We had a membership of 30,000.
What's it now?
Now we barely have 5,000. And I don't even think it's 5,000, it's just over 4,000.
So what happened? People just stopped paying their dues?
People are so disgusted and fed up with Patrick Yarde's leadership that many persons have opted to resign from the union. Some drop off because as a result of the previous regime stopping the agency fees, but they're not encouraged to reapply to become members again of the union because in their view, Patrick Yarde has become ineffective. He's not doing anything for them. In their view, all they're seeing is that Yarde is benefiting and a select few of his cronies, they're at the top there and they're benefiting from the union rather than the public servants who should be benefiting and the members.
How do you, and again, this is not necessarily, these are not my sentiments, these are the facts that are out there. How do you explain then that a group of people, the executive, I think that is it of yours, you can correct me if I'm wrong. How do you explain that they seem to want Mr. Yarde returned come April when new elections are to be had?
It's simple. They are protecting their own selfish interests. Majority of the persons on that executive comprise retirees. They are working nowhere. They once were public servants, but they are no longer employed in the public service.
Is that
so? They do not belong to an active branch. Yes.
But is that constitutional, or is it that they're breaking the Constitution?
They are breaking the union's rules. And so they are there, they're just protecting their own interests, and it's expected they will endorse him. They are a group of people, they just follow what Patrick Yarde says. They have to go with what he says. They are not independent where their thinking is concerned. They lack that intellectual capacity to think independent of Patrick Yarde.
Jermaine, you wanted to jump in here?
Yes. Outside of that, let me also say that the rules of the union stipulates that when you carry your views on the executive council, you speak on behalf of a constituent, you speak on behalf of the branch where you're from. So you're not carrying your personal views there. You're speaking on behalf of the members that you're representing. Now, if you have retired out of the public service,
Yeah.
then you're not speaking on behalf of any public servant because you're working nowhere in the public service. To exemplify this point, let me reference the first Vice President, Mr. Mortimer-Lyvan.
Sure.
Mr. Mortimer-Lyvan was once employed at NARI. He has long retired from NARI. And he now sits on the Executive Council. He sits on the Executive Council after he had retired out of the public service. Right? Now, and this is the first Vice President. In the absence of Patrick Yarde, he acts as President. So, and what even makes it even more worse is the fact that this same guy, Mr. Mortimer-Lyvan, who believes that he could speak on behalf of public servants, is one of the persons out there who obviously is carrying his personal opinion and views and do not have a mandate. And that is a major problem. The rule says that for you to serve on the Executive Council, you should be at least serve on the branch, the branch committee as an executive member, or you should serve on a committee within the union of itself, one of its statutory committee. So he have done none of that, but he was handpicked and put there. And this is not the only case as it relates to him. There are quite a few that are on the board. As a matter of fact, we've said that almost over 60% of the persons there, either they have retired or the branch that they belong to, it is inactive. They do not have a branch. The second Vice President that comes right after Mr. Lyvan, she works at the Ministry of Labor.
Social protection. Labor
Social
Department.
protection now, exactly. Less than a few months ago, she was seconded to the union. This young lady is the second Vice President. This young lady could not have got the members of that branch to come together to form themselves into a unit, because the members who work at Ministry of Labor have no confidence in her. There's elections in which she has been nominated. Nobody from the Ministry of Labor in any way have nominated her to be a candidate.
But she's there.
Yeah, she's there.
She's there because of the manipulation of the list. But let me go to say this, and this is worrying. From day one, we've been challenging the transparency of this election. We've been saying, how can you keep an election in the same building where you have the union president and the executive and the
executive members and all of those things?
And how long has this been happening? This specific example, having the election in the same building.
It has been happening for a while because the transparency have never been challenged, or if it was challenged, people have not gone the full length.
Okay.
However, in this instance, right, we're going to the full length. And make no mistake about it, right, we will end up in court.
And elections are supposed to be annual.
No, it's supposed to be every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
Yes, every 4 years.
All right.
But let me just
go ahead,
before we
Jermaine.
go on. One important thing. The union held a press conference on Wednesday. And at that press conference, the first Vice President made it very clear that 5 persons are running for the presidency, including Patrick Yarde.
Who are the other 4 persons?
Well, he did not say.
Exactly.
He did not say. But let me explain to you what happens and what is the legal process. The person who is empowered to run the elections is the election officer, and is followed by an assistant election officer. The election officer is the person and the sole person who's in power to receive those nomination lists, and he would scrutinize at the end of it after receiving those lists, and he would make a determination to see who's eligible.
And he's the one who
not.
pronounces on it.
Therefore, he is the only one who would have that information and can pronounce on it and publicly to say, well, okay, we've sanitized the list, this is what it is now. But before, as a matter of fact, he still have not done that. But then you've had the first vice president who went on national television, electronic media, as well as printed media, saying that 5 persons are running for election. Now, how did he get that information?
So it shows clearly, and he's a candidate.
Exactly.
He is a candidate. So it shows clearly they are meddling with election material.
As a matter of fact,
information.
We also know several persons who are running for the presidency, and none of those persons know as yet how many persons they're competing with for the presidency.
Right.
But the only person seems to have this information is the first vice president.
Yes, and Patrick Yarde, of course.
I want to talk about moving to the courts for a bit. How quickly or how easily can that be done, and what sort of challenges can you expect, if any, from the current executive? How can they resist in terms of their group moving to the courts?
Well, let me say that Guyana is one of those countries that I'm proud to be a citizen of because of democracy of which we have here. We have a president who is, and I must say a working class president too, right? Who wants to ensure that transparency exists in this society. And therefore, we have that right in which we are exercising. Now, in terms of the issues, after we've consulted with our lawyer, we were told at this stage it is not wise to go out there to say exactly what are the issues.
Understood.
Right.
But I just want to say that
we
we are looking forward. We are looking forward to our day in court. Right?
Okay.
We are looking forward to our day in court.
All right, let me ask you this now. Both of you are, and viewers, please, because some of you, I know, some of you try to come after me on social media and you jump on this. I'm not jumping on the elders in society. It's just that we understand their role. Some of them, it's time for some of them to be advisors. Now, people are going to say, all right, especially some of the older folks in society, all right, yes, y'all younger, you're calling on them to resign. What you could do, how you could fix the problems, how you can make the GPSU better, you know, what you can do different that Patrick Yarde didn't do. Let's hear.
All right, let me say that this is not an issue in terms of age.
Okay.
This is an issue of principle, right?
Yes.
If you are going to represent people, you first have to be a part of that constituent. You have to be a part of the public service, a member of the public service, right? It is only when you're a member of the public service and you're on the ground with the members of staff, you can understand what are their plight. You are more acquainted with the issues that are affecting them, and you're in a better position to speak on behalf of them. You cannot you're no longer part of this any longer, but then
So
you now tell yourself that you're qualified to speak on behalf of them. It makes no sense, right? So it is an issue of principle. And I want to make this very clear. I support my elders. I believe that my elders are important because those are the persons that we young people could look forward to and look towards to for leadership. We certainly do not have all the answers as young people.
Indeed.
Right? And we definitely need them. And I hope that they will support this on the issue of principle.
Okay,
In
Karen.
addition, Malika, when Patrick Yarde took over the helm of the Ghana Public Service Union, it was in 1987. There must have had to be someone to have given him or provided that opportunity
Yes.
for him to ascend to that position. And so, therefore, it was incumbent on Patrick Yarde to groom persons. All you hear him saying that he's grooming, but his grooming process never seems to be complete.
Who is he grooming?
Okay, that's the point. Who is he grooming? And as soon as a public servant stands up to him and comes with fresh ideas and he sees that person as a challenge, and he tries to stamp you down. He did that to me, he did that to Jermaine, and he continues to do it. So our concern, if you are grooming and your grooming seems not to be producing any results, then you are ineffective. you are definitely ineffective.
What has he said in all of this since the new action started recently? Has he said anything that he's willing to even sit with members and negotiate and collaborate and compromise? Has he said anything at all?
No, he hasn't. What he has done, in fact, is he had his executive hold a press conference on Wednesday, as we indicated, and instead of addressing the issues that we have been highlighting as public servants, they chose to attack personalities. And it just goes to show the mentality of those persons. They chose not to address the issues, pertinent issues, but instead attack personalities. And Yarde is comfortable where mudslinging is concerned.
Okay.
That's his natural habitat. He survives in that sort of environment. He didn't choose to address the issues. But as public servants, we will not be going in that environment.
And I'm happy.
We will not be going in that environment. We will continue to be focused on the real issues affecting the public servants, affecting the Guyana Public Service Union and its membership. And those are the issues we'll be highlighting, we'll be sharing with the public servants, because many public servants of the 5,000 probably is just the executive, some of those on the executive, and a couple of little ones that you would pay by loyalty from, who are satisfied with Yarde's leadership.
It's not, I know it's not ethical for me to ask you to name names, but among your group, the group who would have decided to take action against him, do you have in mind maybe a possible or a potential new president with training, a potentially new executive with training? Can you see that clearly at this point?
Yes,
there is.
And
it is an area that we are obviously sure that we have competent person who will replace him.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, let me just go back to the issue in which we were just discussing.
Mm-hmm.
It is clear that what Patrick Yarde has done is take a cowardly approach in terms of in dealing with the issues. What he has done is to try to distract the attention from him by focusing it on other members, so that the fight will move from him to these other people. Right?
And take away from the main issue.
Outside of that, what he has done is he have gotten Mr. Lyvan and Don Gardner to talk about the credit union, in which I'm a director of the credit union. He's a director of the credit union. But like I said, what he's trying to do is to move the attention from him to that. But we will not be distracted. Our objective is to deal with the Guyana Public Service Union. That is our focus, and our focus is to ensure that we see the back of Patrick Yarde and that he steps down and he do the decent.
And in the interest of the Guyana Public Service Union, and everybody knows I'm pro-youth, and in the interest of the youth and the Guyana Public Service, the Guyana Public Servants, I trust that you indeed don't back down.
And Malika, just to add, you've asked what new kind of another person bring to the leadership of the Public Service Union. If you drive around town and you pass the union's headquarters at Chief Chandapal and Regent Street,
yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
and you drive down Thomas Road,
yes,
and you look at the unions, that's supposed to be the union sports complex,
yes, ma'am,
and you see the state, the deplorable conditions of those two structures, which once stood big and mighty. It hurts. It hurts. And all of that happened under the leadership of Patrick Yarde. And you think we couldn't have done better with those buildings? Those are our pride, our property. Public servants and public service members, union members. And regardless of what he wants to say, we did not, Jermaine and I, we've struggled within that union. We've been in the forefront of many struggles with the Public Service Union. But because Yarde sees us as challenge, Yarde chose to reject our dues. If he can show to other public servants or to the Guyanese people any resignation from either one of us where we chose to resign from that union, let him bring it forward.
Okay,
right? Let him bring it forward. And the buildings, the whole management of the union. Today I went to a certain workplace and a member was complaining to me. She went to get spectacles, and the union would usually give some spectacles benefits. And she has not for a long time. She's been up and down trying to get her benefits. Nothing. And she wanted to mobilize her other colleagues to resign en bloc from the union. I had to say no to her. Do not do that at this point in time.
Yeah, that's giving
you know, the union, we're looking ahead to better days for the union. We're looking to see the backs of Patrick Yarde. And everywhere you go, Malika, public servants are discussed and they're fed up with his leadership. Yes, there was a time when he served his purpose, he gave effective leadership, he made his contributions, we acknowledge that. We're not saying that he never did anything whatsoever.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone who said that.
But we are now saying that your time, you have made your contribution, you have served your purpose, your time is up. It is time for you to leave.
Exactly.
Passing on the mantle.
In addition to that, you have over 2 decades of failed negotiations. For over 2, as a matter of fact, persons in the public service is now calling Patrick Yarde 5%. Because year after year, you've been getting just 3 and 5%.
Yeah.
Now, even if you have an anti-working class government, the mere fact that persons out there who choose you as their representative would have the faith in you that if something is happening, they will come out in their numbers to support you as they did in 1999. Look at after 1999 what happened. And then you have a union, you got a union who is now saying that 6 months, it takes if you want to resign, 6 months for you to come out of the union, half of a year for you to resign out of the union. Now, I don't know of any organization that if you want to resign, it takes 6 months. So for 6 months, you have to continue to pay union dues, right? And then after 6 months, they will try to meet you too within that 6 months to convince you not to come out. But 6 months before you could come out, that is unethical. It is unfair. It is brutish.
It appears as though you have to go through a probation period to resign.
In order to resign.
And in addition, the financial records of the union, in over a decade, those financial records have not been audited. That is illegal. That is downright illegal.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to have to leave it there for now. But I can promise you, I will definitely keep following this story, and I will invite either of you or both of you back again as we go along, maybe in another few weeks or so, in terms of an update. And viewers, I know you got a lot out of this conversation, and a lot was said that you didn't even know was happening. And this is for those of you who are not following the issue. You should follow it, especially if you're a public servant. Even if you're not a public servant, you know someone who's a public servant, or somebody for you will be or would have been a public servant before. So this is a story that you definitely should follow, because it's in the best interest of all of us. Unfortunately, we're out of time on Facing the Nation today. Quickly before we go, I am not going to be here live next week. I'm going to decide what recording I'm going to send to play in this Facing the Nation hour. My apologies to you in advance, because I have an exam at this same time next week. So I'm definitely not going to be here. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all 3 guests today. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Professor Ivlaw Griffith. Thank you very much to a former member of the GPSU Executive and Public Servant, Ms. Karen Vansluytman-Corbin, Mrs. Karen Vansluytman-Corbin, and also former executive of the GPSU and Public Servant, Mr. Jermaine Hermanstyne. Again, I will have, of course, you're accustomed to Professor Griffith already, but I'll definitely have the last 2 back. I am